This house in Renton, Washington is listed at $599,000, and we're going to walk through a real mortgage quote to talk about what the numbers would look like if you were the one buying this house. How much would your monthly payment be? How much cash would you need to bring all in between your closing costs and your down payment? And then how much income would it take to qualify for the loan? Because I know that early in the process, when you're just trying to get a sense of what your numbers might look like, when you're still just shopping around, looking around very early in the process, it's hard to be confident in the numbers that you can just find online with a mortgage calculator. So hopefully this will just give you some more confidence early in the process to get a better ballpark for what your numbers are going to look like. This is a real quote. My name is Landon. I work with Cleveland Street Mortgage based in Bothell, Washington. And this is a real quote we're pulling on this house. So hopefully this will give you some confidence in some reliable numbers. All right, so I've created two different scenarios here, two different quotes so you can look at and at least give you a reference for how the numbers might change if your down payment changes. So here we have a 10% down scenario, and here is a 25% down scenario. We'll start with the 10% down scenario, show you what the numbers are, and then see how they change with the 25% down. So the 10% down scenario, your monthly payment, and these are all based on a credit score of 740. It's assuming you're a first-time home buyer, which is going to impact your interest rate and maybe your mortgage insurance, your cost of money overall. So know that your 740 credit score and first-time home buyer. There are some other assumptions going into here, so none of this is going to be the exact scenario for you, the exact pricing, but it is real numbers. It's just going to vary depending on what your specifics are when you come to get your mortgage. 10% down, your monthly payment is $4,362. That's made of four different components here. Homeowners insurance of $125 per month, taxes of $419 per month. Homeowners insurance, that's an estimate, but it is a common number we see. It'll vary depending on who your provider is and how much coverage you're getting. Taxes, that's the actual number from the county website. Mortgage insurance of $94 per month. And then and mortgage insurance you have to pay if you're putting less than 20% down. It can vary as low as $20 or $30 a month to as high as $300 or $400 per month, depending on how much your loan amount is, how much your down payment percentage is, and what your credit score is. Those are definitely going to be impactful, and a few other things, but those are some of the big things that are going to impact your mortgage insurance. And then maybe whether you're a first-time home buyer or not. Principal and interest of $3,723. So the total payment between all those components is $4,362. And then your closing costs, we're showing about $8,908. And that's based on a loan amount of $539,100. In this case, we came back with an interest rate of 7.375. That's up a little bit since last week. And again, not the exact interest rate you're going to get, not an advertisement for that rate, but a pretty good picture of where rates are at right now. Closing costs of $8,908. Those are costs you have to pay on top of your down payment to pay everyone who's helping you make it happen. Appraisal, inspection, lender, different fees that are involved there to actually get the loan. And then that also includes what's called prepaids, which are just costs that you're going to be paying on an ongoing basis, but you have to pay some of those ahead of time because typically it takes the lender a little bit to get you set up there. So total cash to close is $70,000. That's with your down payment of 10% plus your closing costs of $8,908. Let's see how that changes with the 25% down. So now the monthly payment drops down to $3,571. Now we have only three components, no mortgage insurance because we hit 20% down. So homeowners insurance and taxes stay the same, $125, $419, because those are dependent on the house, not the loan structure. And then principal and interest of $3,027. Interest rate in this case popped down to 7.125%, which is great. It's a little bit lower because we made it to 25% down. Your interest rate is not always going to change just because you go from 10 to 25% down. In this case, it did, but it's not quite as much of a difference as it might look because it's offset by the fact that in order to get that interest rate, you had to pay $455 in points, whereas over here, you're taking almost $1,000 in credit. Interest rates are rarely priced at either 0 points or 0 credit. It's rarely zero. It's typically you're always going to see some form of points or credit, some amount of points or credit. It's just dependent on your on how much it's going to take to get that interest rate one way or the other. You can look into those in another video. I'm not going to go into detail on those right now. Other closing costs, $9,794. In this case, the closing costs were a little bit higher because we actually paid some points and didn't have the credit to offset it. So even though the loan amount was lower, which does impact typically a lower loan amount means lower closing costs, but the change in points or credit there offset that. So $9,794 in closing costs. And so now with your 25% down payment plus your closing costs of $9,794, you're going to have to bring $161,194, and that's everything start to finish. That's the cash to close the deal that you're going to need for that scenario. So basically, for figuring out how much income it would take to qualify for a conventional loan, essentially your debt-to-income ratio needs to be below 50%. And so what that means is your total monthly debts, this new housing payment plus any other monthly debts you're going to be trying to take on, or you already have, this new housing payment plus any other debts divided by your gross monthly income, that your gross monthly income in the eyes of the lender, however they see your income, whatever they deem your income to be, usable income, that number needs to be less than 50%. So if we assume you have no other debt, if you have other debts, you just add those to this number and then multiply by 2. I'm just going to take this number, assume you have no other debts, and see what income you would need. In this 25% down scenario, you would need, what is that going to be, $7,142 per month. And in the 10% down scenario, you would need $8,724 per month. Hope I got that right. So that's the income you would need to be making to qualify for each of these monthly payments. Hope that's helpful. If you want to get a quote on a house that you're looking at, to see real numbers on a house that you're looking at, or if you just want to start asking questions and see how much of a loan you could qualify for, we're licensed in Washington and Idaho. We do loans in Washington and Idaho. Again, my name is Landon. Our company is Cleveland Street Mortgage. We're based in Bothell, Washington, and we would love to have you reach out. We love to work with new clients. So you can find all of our contact information down below in the description, and please do reach out.